everyone. This is Jen Mark with Buzzcast podcast for the Ontario Athletic Therapy Association. Today we have Shelina Babul and Taryn Taylor talking about our concussion awareness training tool that's now available to us in the OATA. So welcome both of you to today's podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
I want to know both of you a little bit about what your roles are, what you do. So Shelina, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Yeah. I have various roles, but primarily I'm a clinical associate professor in the Department of Pediatrics at the University of British Columbia with a primary research program focusing on concussions and traumatic brain injuries. And in particular, my work really focuses on knowledge implementation, which takes evidence-based research in concussions and traumatic brain injuries and makes it accessible to healthcare professionals, other professionals, and the general public.
Which is great. That's what our business is. And Taryn, what's your role? What do you do?
So I too wear multiple hats, but I'm a primary care sport medicine physician. So I work at Carleton University where I manage our varsity athletes. But my clinical practice, I probably see about 15 to 20 concussions a week. So it's a big bulk of my practice. I work with multiple sports teams. So I'm the head doctor for the Ottawa 67s OHL team. I work with our Ottawa Blackjacks, the new CEBL team in Ottawa. And then I also work with our Ottawa Red Blacks for the CFL. But my true passion is varsity sport. So I've been working with varsity athletes for over 16 years now. And my newest role at U Sport has been chair of the Sport Medicine and Research Science Committee, which is a new committee at U Sport. So it's in its infancy. So I think I'm in my third year currently. And one of our big mandates, I suppose, was looking at concussion and making sure that U Sport had more of a presence across the country in concussion.
That's great. That's really awesome. And Shelina, tell me a little bit about what your mission is. What's sort of your main goal?
Yeah, so my focus, as I said, is on knowledge implementation. I've got wonderful colleagues doing a great deal of vital work around neuroimaging and blood biomarkers and, groundbreaking stuff. But at the end of the day, we know from research to practice takes years. And my focus is really to raise the level of knowledge and understanding around the prevention, diagnosis, treatment, and management of concussions. So the ultimate goal would be for everybody to really recognize that it's a brain injury and know what to do.
Right, which is so great. I would say primarily a field therapist. And so that's so great for me. For the research often talks about what's happening in the lab. So it's nice to see the work being done for the people that are in the trenches, as I like to say. Mm-hmm. And Taryn, tell me a little bit about what your mission is. Obviously you enjoy varsity athletes, but build on that.
I mean, working with our athletic therapists, every year we do an education session for our varsity athletes. And one of the gaps in concussion education that we found was for the specific student athlete demographic. There's some fantastic modules out there for the pediatric and youth sport and for coaches. But I feel like there's a unique set of issues that are faced student athletes who are trying to play their sport, but also manage an academic load. So always working on trying to find some better ways to educate our own athletes, and then realizing that this was something that was required across the country and not just at my own institution. So I had lofty aspirations wanting to develop a education module for varsity athletes. And I have to admit, it was the stars aligned. And I was introduced to Shelina, who sort of had a very similar vision. And I feel incredibly lucky that I got connected to Shelina and Kat, because this wouldn't have happened without their lead clearly in all of this. So a great big thank you to your group, Shelina.
Thank you. Thanks.
It's nice to see you guys coming together on that, because I think we can all feel that the education and concussion is always a little bit behind the 8 ball. Mm-hmm. I think, there's so much changing, especially right now. And, from year to year, we can say, well, we used to do this and now we do this. And it's nice to see that there's working into some technology to help us stay on top of everything. Tell me a little bit about the concussion awareness training tool, or CAT.
Yeah, so around about a little over a decade ago, I recognized through frequent calls I was getting in my office from parents or individuals saying, where do I go? Who do I see? The doctor saying I've had my bell rung, I'm fine. The teacher doesn't believe my son or daughter. So we recognized there was a disconnect. And depending on who you are, you needed to know different information. So physicians need to know how to accurately diagnose a concussion. Parents want to know how to manage their child's concussion. So we conducted a bit of an environmental scan to say, does anything out there exist in terms of raising the level of knowledge and understanding around this injury? And we recognized that there was nothing. There was a couple of tools, but they required a bit of a cost to pay for it. And our provincial government said, if we want British Columbians to learn about this, we're not going to charge them. Then what we did is we conducted a bit of several focus groups to say, if we build this tool, what do you want? So physicians said to us, we want the most amount of information in the least amount of time. Tell us what we need to know, short and sweet. Parents said, if I Google concussions, I get millions of hits. How do I know what's accurate, what's true, what's reliable? So we took all the
current. That's the big thing to me. What's current? Yeah.
Absolutely. And as you know, the science around this injury is changing rapidly. So we took all this information and then we built what's now known as the concussion awareness training tool. And initially we built it as a provincial tool. And then it's grown to be recognized nationally and internationally as well, because how we diagnose, treat, and manage concussions in BC should be no different than how they do it back east in Ontario, or say, across the country in Europe. We've been very pleasantly surprised to see the uptake of the tool, and it's been growing as years have gone by, with the CAT for athletes as the most recent addition to the tool.
That's great. And Taryn, talk to me a little bit about, now we have access through the Ontario Athletic Therapy Association.
So initially with this tool, there's also a research component to it as well. So that's why the release hasn't happened yet, that it was available this year to the Canadian universities so that we could actually collect some data before it actually went public. So I know that the athletic therapists at the different universities across the country have been able to access and see it, but it is something that will be released as of next week. Aspects of it that I am excited about and super proud of is like Shelina said, it's the free access part of it, which whether or not that was something that was going to be possible, and I have a strong appreciation for the limited budgets that the therapists have at their institutions, and so to be able to take some of the stress off to make sure that they have very high quality education and it's not going to take away from their budget was important. The fact that it's bilingual was also extremely important to me when we look at our French and English athletes across the country, and with one entire conference being in Quebec, that was another important aspect for me as well. I think in terms of some of the, none of this could have happened without some support from organizations like your own, so thank you, and organizations like Chasm and grants that U-Sport had applied to as well, that I definitely learned through this process that the amount of work that goes into creating a very high quality module occurs at a significant cost. And again, I'm very, very thankful for all the support that we've had, and a lot of the work that's been in kind by Kat and their group to help make this happen.
And it's great to see, in years ago, 10 years ago, Shelina, you mentioned, this is when the wheels started turning, where we were with concussions, to now having all these organizations sponsoring, so this can be something for free. How far have we come?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to add to Taryn's comment that also really appreciative for all the in-kind support that Dr. Amanda Black and the University of Calgary has also provided in the formative process and outcome evaluation of this tool, and in the content development as well.
Great. And she's an Ontario athletic therapist, first and foremost.
Absolutely.
I know she's in Calgary, but we'll steal her for now. So who are the organizations? You mentioned that U Sports is involved. Who else? Talk to me a little bit about who's using the platform in BC.
So the funding bodies that Taryn was able to secure was U-Sport, CASM, OATA, the Atlantic Athletic Therapists Association. We in BC provided in-kind support, BCIRPU, and we had some funding available that I was able through my research grants and programs to contribute. Again, Amanda Black from the University of Calgary, and I'm missing someone.
Brock University's, yes.
That's right.
So as of right now, it was only provided to U Sports institutions from a study perspective. So currently that it hasn't been expanded in terms of its use. Now, I would love to see, all the Canadian colleges. So we've been in touch with the Canadian colleges as well, which would have similar demographics and similar issues as student athletes. I would love to see different national teams or even provincial level teams who are looking for concussion education tools be another group to embrace this as well. And my hope is that the word will spread, and as groups are looking for concussion education, Ontario obviously being in a very unique situation with Rowan's Law and more mandated concussion education, that it is a standalone tool, so it can be used on its own, but it's also a great tool to use in conjunction with the education pieces that some institutions may already have in place as well.
Yeah, and just to add, I mean, the beauty of the tool is that it's all evidence-based, and all the tools thus far have been evaluated and shown statistical significance for changing knowledge, attitudes, and/or practices amongst audiences. I see, we're currently evaluating the CAT for athletes, and I don't see any reason why this would be any different. In fact, we've got a wealth of data that we're going to be analyzing for this module as well. And we've really dug deep in terms of incorporating the formative process, getting feedback from athletic directors, athletic trainers, some university students in terms of, if we build this tool, how do you want to learn about concussions? What would you like to see? What can we provide you to make it easy for you? So we've really taken that information to build all the key components of the CAT for athletes in terms of, what is a concussion? Do I have a concussion? Helping navigate the reporting process, the importance of reporting, managing mental health or managing stressors. Will my scholarship be taken away? And then we've also added personal stories to have individuals hear what other people have done or what they've gone through and what has worked for them in their recovery process. So we're very proud of this tool. And the feedback we've gotten has been fantastic in terms of the content and the level of understanding for the university athlete.
That's great. And so you had mentioned that, so your vision with this is probably really to get everybody to view it and using it, really looking at the big term and getting more and more sport organizations involved as well. I can imagine it would be a great tool for some of our younger athletes as well, who parents and coaches who are kind of new to competitive sport or aren't aware, and even Rowan's Law and what to do with concussion. It's all pretty new. What can we do as an association, as a membership, to help with this module and help with this process?
I mean, usually it's the athletic therapists who, at least in my experience, kind of lead the team, right? You guys are the quarterbacks and really oftentimes help to coordinate the medical education of the athletes, when they have to do their CCES and submit their certificate, which was the other nice thing about the CAT module, because it too has a certificate at the end of it. So my hope was that would help to make it a little bit easier for the therapists so that they know which athletes had actually completed it, because I know you guys usually have a checklist checklist of all the forms that they have to complete at the beginning of the season. So, I mean, if the therapists are aware of it and they are recommending it, oftentimes I'm going to say coaches and institutions and organizations are going to take your lead in terms of what you think would be a good resource for the athlete. So I really think that with you guys being frontline, it's going to be extremely helpful if you guys are promoting it as well.
That's great. And I really feel that this will take off with the membership, because we all, you're working with someone with a concussion, there is so much to portray to someone, so much education. And this is such a helpful resource for us to legitimize it and to talk to the parents and just to get everybody on the same page. And if we all have the same information, that's so helpful.
I mean, I had spoken to a former athletic therapist from Western, and I use them as a good example because they have, I think, over 1,000 varsity athletes. And so when Rowan's Law came out and it was mandated that there be preseason education, I know that he was extremely stressed out about how am I going to reach all of these athletes. And so to have something that is free access and online, hopefully takes a bit of that burden off for you guys as well, so that it is something that you can still make sure that they're getting that quality education without trying to jam them all into a giant gymnasium and educate them in a group setting.
Yes, especially right now with the environment that we're in.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm excited about this. I think this is going to be really invaluable to our profession. And thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And again, thank you for your support, and thank you for having us. This is very timely with the launch.
Yeah. So this is Jen Mark with Buzzcast podcast for the Ontario Athletic Therapy Association. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a good day.